You know, there's something profoundly beautiful about hitting rock bottom. There's something magnificent about those moments when life brings you to your knees, when everything you thought you knew crumbles away, when the pain feels so intense that you can barely breathe. And I know what you're thinking right now. You're thinking, how can pain be beautiful? How can suffering be magnificent? How can the worst moments of our lives possibly contain anything worth celebrating? But stay with me here, because what I'm about to share with you has the power to transform not just how you see your struggles, but how you experience every single moment of your existence. The truth is this: God doesn't just show up in the mountain peaks. The divine presence isn't reserved for your victories, your achievements, your moments of glory and success. No, the sacred reveals itself most powerfully in the valleys, in the darkness, in those times when you feel completely and utterly alone. And here's what most people never realize. They spend their entire lives running from pain, avoiding discomfort, doing everything they can to escape the low moments. They medicate themselves with shopping, with food, with alcohol, with endless distractions. They stay busy, constantly busy, because if they slow down even for a moment, they might have to feel something they don't want to feel. But what if I told you that those low moments, those times of suffering and struggle, are actually invitations? What if those painful experiences are knocking on the door of your consciousness, trying to show you something absolutely essential about who you really are? See, when everything is going well, when life is smooth and easy, we tend to live on the surface. We identify with our roles, our possessions, our accomplishments. We say things like, I am a doctor, I am a mother, I am successful, I am wealthy. But who are you when all of that gets stripped away? Who are you when you lose your job, when your relationship ends, when your health fails, when your bank account runs dry? That's when the real work begins. That's when you have the opportunity to go beyond the superficial layers of your identity and connect with something infinitely more powerful. You see, your ego loves the highs. Your ego feeds on success and recognition and validation from others. But your soul, your true essence, that part of you that is eternal and unchanging, that part of you grows in the lows. Your soul expands in the darkness. Your spirit finds its strength not in the light, but in learning to be the light when everything around you is dark. I've talked to thousands of people over the years, and do you know what the ones who have experienced real transformation have in common? They've all been through something. They've all faced a crisis, a loss, a moment when they thought they couldn't go on. And in that moment, instead of cursing their circumstances, instead of asking, why is this happening to me, they started asking a different question. They started asking, what is this here to teach me? What is trying to emerge from this experience? How can I use this pain to become more of who I'm meant to be? There's an old story about a man who found a cocoon. He watched it for hours as a butterfly struggled to break free through a tiny opening. The man, thinking he was being kind, took a pair of scissors and snipped open the cocoon to help the butterfly escape. But when the butterfly emerged, its wings were shriveled and weak. It could never fly. What the man didn't understand was that the struggle to get through that tiny opening was nature's way of forcing fluid from the butterfly's body into its wings. The difficulty was necessary. The resistance was essential. Without the struggle, the butterfly could never become what it was meant to be. And so it is with you. The struggles you face, the challenges that seem insurmountable, the pain that feels unbearable, these aren't punishments. They're not signs that you've done something wrong or that you're being tested by some cruel God in the sky. No, these experiences are the very mechanism through which you develop your wings. They're how you build the strength to fly. They're how you become who you were always meant to be. But here's the key, and this is so important that I want you to really hear this. You have to be present in the lows. You have to be willing to sit with the discomfort, to feel the feelings, to be with what is without immediately trying to fix it or change it or run away from it. Most people, when they're going through a difficult time, they're either dwelling in the past, replaying everything that went wrong, or they're anxiously projecting into the future, worrying about what might happen next. But the truth is, God is only available in this moment. The divine presence is only accessible in the now. When you're in a low moment and you're fully present with it, something miraculous happens. You start to notice that you are not your thoughts, you are not your emotions, you are not your circumstances. You are the awareness that observes all of these things. You are the space in which everything occurs. And that awareness, that consciousness, that is your connection to the infinite. That is what some people call God, what others call Source, what others call the universe. The label doesn't matter. What matters is that you recognize that there is something in you that is untouched by your circumstances, something that remains peaceful and whole even when your life is falling apart. I remember a time in my own life when everything seemed to be crumbling. I won't go into all the details, but there was a period where I questioned everything. My career, my relationships, my purpose, everything felt uncertain. And I'll tell you, I didn't handle it gracefully at first. I was angry, I was resentful. I kept thinking, I've done all this work on myself. I've written books, I've helped people. Why is this happening to me? And then one night, I was sitting alone and I just stopped. I stopped fighting it. I stopped trying to figure it out. I stopped trying to control the outcome. And in that moment of complete surrender, I felt something shift. It was like a voice inside me said, this is exactly where you need to be. This is perfect. This moment, with all its pain and confusion, is perfect. And I realized that I had been so focused on trying to get somewhere else, to fix the situation, to make things better, that I had completely missed the gift that was right in front of me. The gift was the opportunity to practice everything I had been teaching. The gift was the chance to go beyond intellectual understanding and actually live my truth. The gift was learning to find peace not because my circumstances had changed, but in spite of them. And that's when everything changed. Not my external circumstances, those took time to shift. But my internal experience transformed immediately. I stopped being a victim of my circumstances and started being a student of them. Every challenge became a teacher. Every difficult emotion became an opportunity to practice presence. Every moment of uncertainty became a chance to deepen my faith, not faith in some external deity who would swoop in and save me, but faith in the process of life itself, faith that everything was unfolding exactly as it needed to. Now, I know some of you hearing this might be thinking, that's easy to say when you're not in the thick of it. That's easy to say when you're not the one whose heart is breaking, whose body is sick, whose life is falling apart. And you're right, it's not easy. I'm not suggesting for a moment that this work is easy, but here's what I am suggesting. The difficulty of staying stuck in suffering, of remaining a victim, of living your entire life at the mercy of your circumstances, that's infinitely harder than the difficulty of waking up to your true nature. Think about it. What takes more energy, carrying around resentment and anger and bitterness for years, or doing the work to release those emotions and find peace? What's more exhausting? Constantly worrying about the future and trying to control everything, or learning to trust in something greater than your small self? What's more painful? Facing your fears and your shadows head on, or spending your whole life running from them? The path of awakening isn't the easy path, but it's the only path that leads to real freedom. And here's the beautiful thing. Once you start to shift your relationship with the low moments, once you start to see them as opportunities rather than obstacles, your whole life begins to transform. You stop fearing the valleys because you know that's where the real growth happens. You stop clinging to the peaks because you know they're temporary. You develop an equanimity, a steadiness that allows you to move through life with grace no matter what's happening around you. Let me tell you about a concept that changed everything for me. It's the idea that life is not happening to you, it's happening for you. Read that again. Life is not happening to you, it's happening for you. Every single experience, every person who comes into your life, every challenge you face, every loss you endure, it's all happening for your highest good, for your evolution, for your awakening. Now, I know that might be hard to accept, especially when you're in the middle of suffering. But what if it's true? What if on some level that transcends your ordinary understanding, you actually chose these experiences? What if your soul, before you came into this body, said, yes, I'm willing to go through that because I know it will help me grow, it will help me remember who I really am. You don't have to believe in reincarnation or past lives to understand this principle. You just have to be willing to consider that there might be a deeper intelligence at work in your life than your ego mind can comprehend. You just have to be open to the possibility that the universe is not random, that your life has meaning and purpose, and that even the most painful experiences are part of a larger pattern that is ultimately working in your favor. When you start to live from this understanding, something amazing happens. You stop being afraid. You stop needing things to be different than they are. You stop measuring your worth by your circumstances. You develop what I call radical acceptance, the ability to say yes to life exactly as it is in this moment, while still taking action to create positive change. See, acceptance doesn't mean resignation. It doesn't mean you just lie down and let life walk all over you. It means you stop fighting against reality. It means you stop arguing with what is. And from that place of acceptance, from that place of surrender, you actually become more powerful, not less. Because here's the thing about resistance. Whatever you resist persists. When you're constantly fighting against your circumstances, when you're always struggling and striving and trying to force things to be different, you're actually giving more energy to the very thing you're trying to change. But when you accept what is, when you surrender to the present moment, you create space for something new to emerge. You allow the universe to work through you rather than trying to do everything through your own limited willpower. This is what it means to look for God in the lows. It means recognizing that the divine is not separate from your experience. It means understanding that the sacred and the mundane are one and the same. It means seeing that everything, absolutely everything, is an expression of the infinite intelligence that created the stars and the planets and your very breath. There is no moment that is more holy than any other moment. There is no experience that is closer to God than any other experience. It's all God. It's all sacred. It's all perfect exactly as it is. But we've been conditioned to believe otherwise. We've been taught that God is something outside of us, something we have to earn or deserve. We've been told that we need to be good enough, pure enough, worthy enough to experience the divine. And so we spend our lives trying to prove ourselves, trying to be perfect, trying to avoid anything that might make us feel less than spiritual or enlightened. But that's not how it works. That's not how any of this works. The truth is, you are already worthy. You are already enough. You are already a perfect expression of the divine, exactly as you are right now, with all your flaws and imperfections and struggles. You don't need to become anything other than what you already are. You just need to remember. You just need to wake up to the truth of your being. And that waking up often happens not in meditation retreats or churches or spiritual workshops, but in the messy, painful, beautiful chaos of everyday life. It happens when your heart breaks open. It happens when you lose everything you thought defined you. It happens when you hit bottom and realize you can't go any lower, so the only way out is up, or rather in. I want you to think about the most difficult time in your life. Go back there for a moment. Feel it. What was happening? What were you going through? Now, I want you to ask yourself, who did you become as a result of that experience? What did you learn? What strengths did you develop? What wisdom did you gain? Would you be the person you are today without having gone through that experience? The answer, if you're honest, is probably no. You wouldn't be. Because that experience, as painful as it was, shaped you. It molded you. It forced you to grow in ways you never would have grown if life had just been smooth and easy. And here's something else to consider. The people who have the most impact in the world, the people who really make a difference, who really help others, they're almost always people who have been through something significant. They've faced adversity. They've known loss. They've experienced pain. And rather than letting it destroy them, they've used it as fuel. They've transformed their pain into purpose. They've taken their mess and turned it into their message. They've allowed their wounds to become their wisdom. You can do the same. Right now, whatever you're going through, whatever low you're experiencing, you have a choice. You can be a victim or you can be a student. You can ask why me or you can ask what now. You can let this break you or you can let it break you open. And breaking open, that's where the magic happens. That's where the light gets in. That's where you finally connect with that part of yourself that has always been there, waiting patiently for you to remember who you really are. See, the ego wants to keep you safe. It wants to keep you comfortable. It wants to protect you from pain. And so it builds walls around your heart. It creates stories about who you are and what you're capable of. It keeps you small and limited and afraid. But when life brings you to your knees, when those walls come crashing down, when the stories you've been telling yourself no longer hold up, that's when your true self can finally emerge. That's when you can finally experience the freedom and joy and peace that have always been your birthright. And I want to be clear about something. Finding God in the lows doesn't mean you have to enjoy the pain. It doesn't mean you have to pretend everything is wonderful when it's not. It doesn't mean you have to slap on a fake smile and spout positive affirmations when your heart is breaking. No, finding God in the lows means being authentic with what you're feeling, honoring your emotions, allowing yourself to grieve or rage or fall apart. But it also means recognizing that there is something within you that is bigger than any emotion, bigger than any circumstance, bigger than any challenge you could possibly face. That something is your true nature. It's the observer within you. It's the consciousness that is aware of your thoughts and feelings, but is not defined by them. It's the part of you that remains untouched by the drama of your life, the part that is eternally at peace, eternally whole, eternally connected to the source of all creation. And when you can access that part of yourself, even for just a moment, even in the midst of your darkest hour, everything changes. Not because your circumstances have changed, but because you have changed. You've shifted your identity from the small self, the ego self, to the true self, the eternal self, the self that is one with all that is. This is the greatest gift the lows can give you. They strip away everything that isn't real. They remove the masks you wear, the roles you play, the false identities you've constructed. They reveal what's underneath all of that. And what's underneath is pure love, pure consciousness, pure awareness. It's who you were before you were born and who you'll be after this body dies. It's the part of you that is indestructible, that can never be harmed, that can never be lost. And once you know this, once you really know this, not just intellectually but experientially, you become fearless. Not because you won't face challenges anymore, you will, but because you know that no matter what happens, no matter how low you go, you cannot be destroyed. Your true essence, your real self, is eternal. And from that place of knowing, you can face anything. You can handle anything. You can transform anything. So when you're in a low moment, instead of asking God why this is happening, instead of pleading for it to end, instead of trying to escape or numb out or distract yourself, try something different. Get quiet. Get still. Turn your attention inward and listen. Listen for that small, still voice within you. Listen for the wisdom that is always available when you stop long enough to hear it. Listen for the guidance that is constantly flowing to you from the source of all creation. And trust what you hear. Trust what you feel. Trust that there is a reason for everything, even if you can't see it yet. Trust that you are exactly where you need to be, doing exactly what you need to be doing, learning exactly what you need to learn. Trust that this low, as painful as it is actually lifting you higher than you've ever been before. Because that's the paradox. The lower you go, the higher you can rise. The more you surrender, the more powerful you become. The more you accept what is, the more you can create what could be. I've seen this happen over and over again in my own life and in the lives of countless others. I've seen people who lost everything and in that loss found everything. I've seen people brought to their knees by illness who discovered a strength and resilience they never knew they had. I've seen people whose hearts were shattered who learned to love more fully and openly than ever before. I've seen people who hit rock bottom who used that as a foundation to build a life more beautiful and meaningful than they ever imagined possible. And here's what they all have in common. They didn't waste their pain. They didn't let their suffering be in vain. They used it. They learned from it. They allowed it to transform them. They looked for God in the lows, and they found not just God, but themselves, their true selves, the selves they were always meant to be. You can do this too. Right now, in this moment, you can make a decision. You can decide that no matter what you're going through, no matter how dark it feels, no matter how hopeless it seems, you are going to find the gift in it. You are going to look for the lesson. You are going to allow this experience to crack you open so that more light can shine through. You are going to trust that there is a higher purpose at work, even if you can't see it yet. And when you make that decision, when you really commit to it, something shifts. The pain doesn't necessarily go away immediately, but your relationship to it changes. You stop being a victim and start being a warrior. You stop feeling powerless and start reclaiming your power. You stop waiting for someone or something to rescue you and start realizing that you are your own rescuer. You are the one you've been waiting for. You are the answer to your own prayers. This is what spiritual awakening really means. It's not about having mystical experiences or seeing visions or achieving some perfect state of enlightenment. It's about waking up to who you really are in the midst of ordinary life, in the midst of struggle and challenge and pain. It's about recognizing that you are not separate from the divine. You are an expression of it. You are not searching for God. You are the very thing you're searching for. And when you know this, when you really embody this truth, you become unstoppable. Not because you'll never face challenges again, but because you'll know how to meet them. Not because life will always be easy, but because you'll have the tools to navigate whatever comes your way. Not because you'll never feel pain again, but because you'll know that pain is not your enemy. It's your teacher. It's your guide. It's the very thing that will help you evolve into the highest version of yourself. So I want to leave you with this. The next time you find yourself in a low, and you will, because that's part of being human, don't run from it. Don't resist it. Don't numb it or avoid it or pretend it's not there. Instead, lean into it. Get curious about it. Ask it what it has to teach you. Look for the divine in the darkness. Search for the sacred in the suffering. Find God in the lows. Because that's where the real transformation happens. That's where you shed the old skin that no longer fits and step into the fullness of who you're becoming. That's where you stop living a small, limited, fear-based life and start living from your true nature, which is infinite, eternal, and boundless. That's where you finally come home to yourself. And when you do, when you finally stop running and start embracing all of life, the highs and the lows, the joy and the pain, the light and the dark, you'll realize something profound. You'll realize that it was all perfect. Every moment of it. Every experience, every challenge, every heartbreak, every loss. It was all exactly what you needed to become who you are. It was all part of the journey home. So trust the lows. Honor them. Learn from them. Let them shape you and mold you and transform you. Let them strip away everything that isn't real so that what remains is only truth. Let them break down the walls around your heart so that love can finally flow freely. Let them humble you and soften you and open you to the mystery and magic of existence. Because in the end, that's all any of us really wants. To be free, to be whole, to be connected to something greater than ourselves. To know that our lives matter, that our struggles have meaning, that we are part of something infinite and eternal and beautiful beyond measure. And the way to that knowing, the path to that freedom, often runs directly through the valleys, through the darkness, through the lows. So don't be afraid of them. Don't avoid them. Don't spend your life trying to escape the very experiences that have the power to set you free. Instead, meet them with courage. Meet them with openness. Meet them with a willingness to be changed by them. And know that in those moments when life brings you to your knees, when everything falls apart, when you feel like you can't go on, that's not the end. That's not a punishment. That's not a sign that you failed. That's the beginning. That's the invitation. That's the universe tapping you on the shoulder and saying, wake up, remember who you are, remember why you're here. Remember that you are not this small, limited, fearful self you've been pretending to be. You are so much more than that. You are infinite, you are eternal, you are divine, and the way to that remembering, the path to that awakening, the gateway to that truth is right here, right now, in this moment, exactly as it is. Even if this moment is painful, even if this moment is difficult, even if this moment is everything you wished it wasn't, this moment is perfect. This moment is sacred. This moment is where God lives. So look for the divine in the darkness. Search for the sacred in the suffering. Find God in the lows, because that's where the real magic happens. That's where you finally discover who you've always been. That's where you come home.